Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of Brain and Spine. Today I'm going to be talking about the anatomy of the brain. So the brain weighs about 1 to 2 kilos, contains mostly fats and waters, and is encased up here in the skull. The brain is one of the most complex and incredible organs of the human body. It's the control center that processes information received from the sensory organs and transmits information straight back to the rest of the body. In this video I'm going to explain the anatomy of the brain in a simple way that's easy for you guys to remember. During my time as a physiotherapist on the stroke ward, I was informed of a simple way to remember the anatomy of the brain. The model presented was called the Triune Brain, invented by American physician and neuroscientist Paul MacLean. He states that the Triune Brain contains the reptilian complex, a Paleomammalian complex, and the Neomammalian complex. Our first brain, once we crept out of the waters, is the reptilian brain. It contains our primitive survival instinct. The structures included are the brainstem and the cerebellum. They control muscles, balance, and any automatic functions such as breathing, heart rate, anything to serve our basic needs. The next part of the brain is called the Paleomammalian Complex, or as some of you may know it, the limbic system. It is assumed that this brain emerged when the first mammals evolved into existence, controlling emotions and instincts such as the fight or flight response and even reproduction. The structures here include the hypothalamus, hippocampus, and the amygdala. The final level of the brain is called the Neomammalian Complex, or the cerebrum. This brain evolved during the more recent stages of primates, resulting in the human species. It allowed mammals to be able to use tools, farm, and also create communities. Vast connections are made between the cerebrum and the limbic system because it is in the cerebrum where the decision making occurs as to whether or not the limbic system's presented a good idea or not. In humans, it's the largest, taking up about 2/3 of the brain. It's thought that a small animal such as a rat without this section of the brain may still act normal. However, a human without it is essentially a vegetable. The cerebrum is divided into 4 parts: the frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. The frontal lobe, funnily enough situated in the front of the brain, is essentially the largest structure in the brain. It's involved with thought, attention, voluntary movement, executive processes, personality, and language. It's in the frontal lobe where the Broca's area resides, specifically more towards the left. Damage to this area of the brain results in Broca's aphasia or dysphasia, where the patient is able to understand what you're saying or what is written, however is unable to produce speech. Damage to the frontal lobe as a whole can cause these symptoms: absence of emotions, reduced motivation and mood. Now this is something that can really affect your treatment session as a physiotherapist, because if they have no motivation, it's very unlikely that they'll comply with the treatment session. A change in personality. For example, someone who was previously hard-working and kind after frontal lobe damage can actually turn into someone who's rude and lazy. They may make bad decisions or judgment calls, and they may also struggle to plan. You may need to be wary when getting a social history from a patient with frontal lobe damage, as they may provide false information that they are adamant is true. The next lobe is the parietal lobe. This allows us to get a sense of the world and also coordinate ourselves in the environment. For example, where our arms are in space, and also calculating the distance of an object. Patients with damage to this area of the brain may present with inattention or neglect to one side of the body, diminished sensation, poor coordination, and a reduced ability to recognize an object by touch. A common test for the parietal lobe is 2-point discrimination, where you attempt to distinguish whether or not there's 2 points touching you or just the one. I'm very sorry, normally this is not done by using pens, but the production value of these videos are really low. I hope you understand what I'm saying. The third lobe is the temporal lobe. Funny enough, it's also situated near the temple of the head and also near the temporal bone. It processes sensory input from the eyes and ears, helps with long-term storage, and also helps with speech recognition. This is where Wernicke's area resides. It is where the comprehension of speech or writing is taken place. Damage to this area of the brain can cause Wernicke's dysphasia or aphasia, where the patient is able to talk, however they're unable to comprehend what is written or what is said. Damage to the temporal lobe can cause reduced recognition of faces, colours, smells, and also memory loss. The final lobe is the occipital lobe. This is situated towards the back of the head where the occiput bone is. It's responsible for processing all the visual information. It's linked with other areas of the brain, such as the parietal, to actually distinguish the distance of an object, and also the temporal, to help recognize an object. Damage to this area of the brain can cause hallucinations, color blindness, and even hemianopia, which is where there's vertical blindness in half of the visual field of each eye. That's all for this video before it becomes too in-depth. In the next brain and spine video, I'll talk about the other structures that reside in the brain, such as the thalamus and the brainstem. Please remember to share, subscribe, leave a like. Take care, and I'll see you later.